All right, welcome to the deep dive. Grab your coffee, maybe settle in, because I came across this paper that honestly, it really caught my eye. And I knew we had to dig into it together. It just feels like one of those bits of research that could, genuinely change things up, especially in healthcare. So our deep dive today is all about this brand new paper from Microsoft AI. It's looking at how artificial intelligence is tackling some really complex medical diagnoses. Let's unpack this together like we just found it and are chatting about it. And honestly, what they found is pretty eye-opening. We're talking about an AI system that seems to diagnose not just like better, but also cheaper than experienced doctors on some really tough cases. That's pretty interesting, don't you think?
Yeah. And to really get why this is such a big deal, we should probably touch on the state of healthcare right now. I mean, you see it everywhere. Demand is climbing. Costs are just, well, spiraling, right? And too many people still struggle to get good care, which includes getting the right diagnosis quickly. It's kind of no surprise people are already using digital tools for health stuff.
Microsoft sees, over 50 million health sessions daily on things like Bing and Copilot. Everything from why does my knee hurt to, finding an urgent care late at night. These AI tools are sort of becoming a new front door for basic health questions.
That's exactly right. And that huge demand really connects directly to why this paper exists. Microsoft seems convinced generative AI could be transformational here. They think it can tackle some of these big systemic problems. That's why late last year, 2024, they launched a whole dedicated consumer health group within Microsoft AI. It sounds pretty serious. Clinicians, designers, engineers, AI scientists, all working together to bring AI solutions out to the public. It feels like a big commitment.
It definitely sounds like a huge effort. But thinking about actually getting these tools used, what do you think the biggest hurdle is beyond just building the tech? For me, it jumps straight to trust.
Trust is absolutely key, yeah. And the paper really hammers this home. It points out that the early ways they tested AI in medicine, like just passing the U.S. medical licensing exam, the USMLE, they were way too simple. Those tests are mostly multiple choice, right? They favor memorization, not actual clinical thinking. It's like asking a student to ace a quiz but not manage a real-world project, It definitely gave maybe an over-optimistic view of what early AI could do in a real clinic.
Okay, that makes total sense. So if multiple choice isn't the way, how do doctors actually figure things out in, the real world?
Right, that's the core idea here. Doctors don't get all the info at once. The paper talks about sequential diagnosis. It's this back and forth process. A clinician starts with symptoms, asks questions, maybe orders some tests, and keeps refining their ideas as new info comes in. Think about it. Someone comes in, cough, fever. The doctor doesn't just guess pneumonia. They might get blood work, a chest x-ray. They gather clues, right? It's less like a pop quiz and more like solving a mystery, step by step. Sounds much more like how real diagnosis happens. And to really test this, the researchers use actual case records, specifically from the New England Journal of Medicine, the case records from Massachusetts General Hospital. Now, these aren't simple cases. The paper calls them diagnostically complex and intellectually demanding, often needing multiple specialists. I mean, some are apparently so tricky they get discussed at grand rounds for teaching. So this really sets a high bar for any system, human or AI.
Wow, okay, so super tough cases. And to make the test even more real, they built this thing called the Sequential Diagnosis Benchmark, or SD Bench. This sounds really smart. It basically turns these difficult NEJM cases into interactive step-by-step challenges. And it's not just about getting the final answer right. It also tracks a virtual cost for every question asked, every test ordered. So decisions have simulated financial consequences, just like in a real hospital trying to manage resources. That feels much more grounded in reality, doesn't it?
Definitely. So they've got this tough benchmark. How did they actually build an AI to tackle it? This is where the Microsoft AI Diagnostic Orchestrator, MAI-DTEXO, comes in. And it sounds like it's not just one big AI thinking on its own.
Exactly. That's what's so interesting. It's an orchestrator. Think of it like a digital conductor. It doesn't replace the big AI models underneath, but it guides them. It coordinates multiple steps, different AI agents, ensuring the whole diagnostic process is systematic, almost like managing a team. The paper breaks it down into 5 sort of virtual panel roles inside the MAI-DXO, each with its own job.
Yeah, you can almost picture it like a mini virtual medical team meeting. You've got Dr. Hypothesis always keeping track of the top 3 most likely diagnoses, like the lead investigator. Then Dr. Test Chooser, who's like the strategist, picking only the tests that'll give the most bang for the buck, narrowing things down efficiently. But it's not just about charging ahead. There's Dr. Challenger playing devil's advocate, questioning assumptions, looking for reasons why the current idea might be wrong. Super important.
Huh. I can just see Dr. Challenger raising a virtual eyebrow. Are we sure about that? Totally. And then keeping an eye on the budget is Dr. Stewardship, making sure choices are cost-conscious, maybe suggesting cheaper options first. And finally, Dr. Checklist, just quietly making sure all the boxes are ticked, maintaining consistency, quality control.
That's a really neat setup, these virtual doctors.
Yeah.
How do they actually work together? Like, what if Dr. Challenger finds something that contradicts Dr. Hypothesis? Is there arguing?
Haha. Well, maybe not arguing, but there's definitely interaction. It's designed as a loop. If Dr. Challenger finds evidence against the top theory, it forces Dr. Hypothesis to re-rank the possibilities. It's this constant cycle: question, test, refine. And there are other AIs involved too. For realism, there's a gatekeeper agent, basically the patient's chart. It only gives info when asked, so no spoilers, simulates a real interaction. And a judge agent evaluates the final diagnosis against the true answer using criteria developed with actual doctors. Keeps it fair.
Okay, and back to the cost thing for a second, which I think is super relevant. How did they actually put numbers on that in this virtual setup?
They did put thought into it. They set a flat $300 cost for a physician visit, which covers asking a batch of questions. And for tests, they use real-world pricing data from a big U.S. health system's price list. Now, obviously, they admit these are estimates, costs vary wildly in reality, but the key thing is consistency. They applied the same cost rules to the AI and the human doctors they tested, so it allows for a fair comparison of not just how accurate they were, but how cost-effectively they got there.
Right, consistency is key for the comparison.
Okay.
Okay, so the moment of truth. What were the results? This is the part that kind of blew me away. The headline is, MAI DXO, especially when hooked up with one of OpenAI's advanced models, correctly diagnosed up to 85.5% of those really hard NEJM cases. Just that number on its own is...
Wow, considering how tough you said these cases are.
It really is stunning. And here's the comparison. They tested 21 experienced doctors from the US and UK, doctors of 5 to 20 years under their belts. On the exact same cases, the human doctors averaged an accuracy of just 20%.
20%, compared to over 80. Yep. More than 4 times higher for the AI. I mean, just think about what that could mean for catching complex diseases earlier or reducing diagnostic errors. Yeah, it could really change the way things are done.
Here's the other part that got me, the real kicker maybe, the cost.
Mm-hmm.
MAI DXO wasn't just more accurate, it was also cheaper overall. Cheaper than the human doctors, and cheaper than just letting a standard AI model run loose on the problem. Like one MAI DXO setup got nearly 80% accuracy for about $2,400 per case. The standard OpenAI model alone cost almost $8,000 for slightly less accuracy, and the doctors averaged nearly $3,000. So better, more efficient.
That's the win-win, right?
Exactly. It shows the value of that structured multi-agent approach. They give this great little story in the paper that makes it really clear.
Mm-hmm.
Get this. There was a case, a patient hospitalized for alcohol withdrawal who'd secretly been drinking hand sanitizer. A simpler standalone AI got fixated on the idea of antibiotic toxicity. Ordered expensive scans, brain MRI, EGG, still got the diagnosis wrong, and racked up over $3,400 in virtual costs.
Oh, wow. But the MAI DXO, thanks to Dr. Hypothesis, thinking about potential in-hospital toxins, and Dr. Challenger, pushing back on other ideas, it quickly zeroed in on toxin exposure. It prompted a direct question, the patient admitted it, and boom, correct diagnosis. Faster and way cheaper. Only $795.
Okay. Makes sense once you put it that way. That structured thinking really paid off.
Definitely. And what's also impressive is that MAI DXO boosted the accuracy of every underlying AI model they tried it with. So it's not just like a lucky pairing with one specific model. It seems to be a generally powerful strategy for improving AI clinical reasoning.
Okay, so this leads us right to the big question, and what everyone always asks, is AI going to replace doctors? And the paper is really clear on this, right? The researchers, including doctors themselves, they say no. It's about complementing doctors, not replacing them. But why? What's the reasoning?
Yeah, that's such a crucial distinction. And the reason is, well, being a doctor is about so much more than just the diagnosis itself, isn't it? It's about building trust, navigating uncertainty and fear with patients, providing empathy, that human connection. AI, well, it's just not built for that, not currently anyway. But what AI can do is maybe automate some routine stuff, help spot diseases earlier, personalize treatments using huge amounts of data, maybe even help prevent some diseases. And for patients, it could lead to better tools for managing their own health, making decisions with their doctor.
It's almost like giving doctors superpowers. In a way, the paper mentions AI combining the broad knowledge of a generalist with a deep knowledge of multiple specialists. Something no single human can do. Thinking about it, when you have some weird symptom, you kind of wish you could just pull a whole panel of experts instantly. This MAI DXO thing feels like a step towards that.
It does feel like that, but it's also really important, and the researchers are very upfront about this to talk about the limitations here. Got to keep it real. For instance, MAI DXO did great on these super complex, rare NEJM cases, but how would it do on, the everyday coughs and colds doctors see most often? That needs testing. And another key thing, the human doctors in the study, they were specifically told not to use outside resources. No textbooks, no asking colleagues.
Well, okay.
It was done to make it a fair, apples-to-apples test of their raw diagnostic skill in that isolated moment. But that's absolutely not how doctors work in the real world, right? They collaborate, they look things up.
Right. So it was a specific test setup, not a full simulation of clinical practice. That's a really important caveat. So the vision isn't AI versus doctors. It's augmenting human skills, human empathy with machine intelligence, a partnership. Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway from digging into this Microsoft research?
For me, it really shows AI is becoming this incredibly powerful tool. It can potentially diagnose complex stuff more accurately and maybe even more affordably, and its real power seems to come from mimicking that kind of collaborative critical thinking. It's not just raw processing power, it's the structure. It offers this glimpse of maybe superhuman diagnostic backup. Not to replace, but to seriously enhance what doctors can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So perhaps the thought to leave you with is this. What if, in the future, your healthcare involves not just your human doctor, but also this invisible AI colleague working behind the scenes, helping ensure accuracy, maybe catching things earlier? It could fundamentally reshape how we all experience medicine, couldn't it? It really could. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope this gave you some interesting food for thought about where AI might be taking healthcare next. Definitely something to keep an eye on.